Sure. Okay, let's go. Right. Onegaishimasu.
Onegaishimasu.
Right. Okay, let's loosen up a little bit. Shaking out the arms a little bit, the hands. Okay, taking it a little bit front and back. Great, just explore a little bit here with the feet, different positions. Just think about how many, just think about having the feet slightly split away from each other, slightly wider, one in front of the other a little bit, and just explore it in the same directions. Front and back. I feel the like shifting the weight on the feet as you move. Really explore the feet as well, so kind of playing with the contact points with the foot as you move through it. Keep the knees relaxed. Good, nice and easy. Yeah, shifting good. Yeah, great. Yeah, good. So just explore. We'll also look at this idea of kinanagai, which is really in a sense about the footwork and shifting the weight. So that first one, where you've got the feet in the position and then shifting the weight. Obviously, this is really important in terms of any kind of movement. And then just explore here the sense of stepping out into. Don't worry about the form or the structure or anything, but just kind of think about the feet and that idea of just kind of passing the body forward. So just kind of as if you're being, imagine a line from the chest, as if you're being kind of pulled forward with it and pulled back with it. But just explore the weight kind of tipping over the feet. So not really concerned about the structure, just the kind of feeling in the body of it passing over the foot. So it doesn't have to be in balance, it doesn't have to be anything, just exploring that feeling of the body. Stepping forward, moving backwards. So again, just exploring the feet a little bit, pressure in the feet, and also the mobility in the ankles, the toes. Super easy. That's it, right? Great. So just explore the same, but with the side to side movement. So just first loosening out the spine a little bit, keeping the feet down. And again, just focusing on the shift of the weight across the body. Opening the sides of the body out a little bit. Play with the arms, get a feeling for how the arms are going to kind of interact with the movement. And then just do the same thing, but without moving, just raising the foot out. So again, just kind of shifting all the weight to one side, raising it out. Can be a nice kind of light, just coming up onto the toes. You can kind of come out fully with the leg. Raise it up. Again, it doesn't have to be particularly imbalanced, just to get the, just exploring the feeling of shifting the weight across the body, shifting the weight. Just notice how you're kind of interacting with the ground as well. So it's just to kind of push out or fall into the ground. Generally want to be having this idea of falling into the ground. That's it, great. Good, that's it, perfect. Great, and then just mix these two directions in together. So obviously when we're doing Aikido footwork, you're working with the rotation, which we come to next, but think about forwards and side. So these kind of two directions kind of working together. So you're kind of working diagonally with the body. And just moving around, nothing special, but just focusing on shifting the weight, contact with the ground. So you're not quite working with rotations yet, but you've got these two elements coming together, forwards, backwards, side to side. And exploring especially now the shift of the weight across the feet. A bit more like a boxer's shuffling kind of movement, but same principles, working with the ground, let the structure just fall into it. So, great. Yeah, and explore here a kind of upright standing position, but also explore a little bit coming down into it as well. So a little bit more kind of squat movements, just kind of activating the legs. Again, just emphasize the shift across. So you think like traditional martial arts, especially if you like Shotokan karate or Aikido, these kind of, they will work really long stances with the body. And these are good for developing hip work as well, but really for nice kind of solid structure working through it. Just play a little bit wider, a little bit deeper. Bring legs fully out of the ground. Again, just exploring how the body's interacting with the ground and gravity. That's good. Nice. So we'll just isolate the rotation. So just going into rotation again, just softening the arms, keeping the feet flat. Again, just noticing how the weight's being distributed in the foot. It doesn't have to be particularly balanced, you can be totally out of balance. Go a little bit to the front, a little bit to the back, be careful with the spine. That's it. Great. Yeah, so this is again, if you could kind of think of it like an upright position, this is kind of really easy in a way for the hips to be free. As long as my knees are relaxed, everything's kind of going into the ground. Think about now a slightly deeper movement of the body. So you're like not quite in a squat, but then again, just think about the hips being able to free themselves. So forwards, backwards, and think about again, you're going into rotation movements naturally, but just think first about hip mobility. So opening, closing the hip, and feel that you can move each kind of independently as well. So the stability and rotation work is kind of critical. So just play with, if you're kind of comfortable with it, play with going a little bit deeper as well. And you just want to feel that the knees can, the hips can release. If you're comfortable in this kind of position where the hands can touch the ground, get to here, use the hands as a bit of support, and just play again with slight rotation movements through the hip, opening and closing. Just explore it with a slightly lower posture. That's it. Good. And then just coming back to standing, just spend a little bit of time here again with the, hopefully a little bit more freedom in the hip, or just the ability to kind of independently think about moving them. So again, just play with a little bit of, you want to play now, not this kind of soft rotation, but a bit more with a sense of the hip being able to twist into the space. Think about now, like, because you're into a 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒄𝒄, this sense of the hip coming forward into it. Hip coming forward into it, so the hips are working together, but with a sense of passing a movement out of the hands. So just play a little bit with the arms now. Just let them kind of pass the movement out, pass the movement out, pass the movement out the arm. That's it. Good. That's it. That's it. That's it. So any kind of direction. Just imagine you're connecting the handwork to the hip. Handwork to the hip. That's it. It can be any kind of movement. It can be a kind of soft movement. It could be a heavy movement. It could be a kind of flicking movement. Any kind of quality you like, but let that kind of quality of the movement come from the hip. Yeah, there we go. Good. Nice. Bam. Good. Nice. Nice. Great, so mixing those together now, working with stepping. Again, you can think about kind of shuffling, you can think about stepping, and you can think about rotation. But again, focus on the sense of the hip now, being able to flex, move. Also including those kind of feelings from the first kind of set of this kind of front and back, side to side. So don't explore the footwork. And just a sense of being able to rotate the body. You're probably naturally going to fall into some kind of variation on hammy because we spend a lot of time here, but it doesn't have to be. It's just any place where I can feel like I'm playing with the hip work. Just really experimenting with the other weights entering through the foot. Good. And then again, going from a slight more of a natural upright posture, work with a slightly lower posture now. So you're slightly more down into the ground. And again, it just exaggerates the issues of it. So if I really want to work with the hippie and mobile in this case, so think as you go into it. Now, once you've got a kind of level for the hips, think of sticking to that level. So try and avoid the hip rising and falling, especially coming up. So think of the hips as if you've got a weight in the back, and it's kind of pulling the hips down gently into the ground. So imagine the hips are kind of hugging that distance with the hips. So you've got a little bit wider postures. So we don't train them traditionally, these kind of wide postures in a way, like come into these kind of stances, but we do use them all the time. So if you think about 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂, or these kind of movements where you're kind of blending out, coming down with the body, we're using them all the time. So again, it's just about being comfortable, being able to, through the hips, move the whole body as one unit. And using the feet for the contact, exploring how the foot's interacting with the ground in and out of it. So, that's good. Super. Okay, now just working with the hands. So because we use hand grips a lot, also we're kind of really familiar with them. So just explore now, if you imagine the 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 grip to the wrist, imagine again exploring those movements and just moving with the arm. So one arm grab, moving with it. Obviously you've got movements like trying to hit up. You've got movements coming up to the top. But just exploring, there's a ton of movements that we've got in the system for this. So think about any of those movements, and again, how the body is interacting with the ground through that movement. And a little bit of 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒄𝒄 for the arm. But again, let that movement come out of the hip work. Yeah, good. Okay, perfect. So use the same ideas, but just take it in a little bit of in a way, a little bit of a stricter way. Think of a really pure kind of 𝒂𝒂𝒿 movement. So in a way, we start from the worst position. You're static, and the person's full strength, full grab on the wrist. So good 𝒂𝒂𝒿. A bad 𝒂𝒂𝒿 will teach you really poor habits, which is like tensing in the body and using power. But good 𝒂𝒂𝒿 training, if you train it in the right way, teaches a sense of the whole body moving through it. So really think about now, again, it comes back to sword work, this sense of going from a kind of neutral position into the movement. But really allow yourself now to find the ground, find the position, and then really study how you make those initial movements and come into it. Just a little bit more of a experimentation with moving out with the whole body. The main thing to avoid now is starting with the hands or looking for the connection in the arms, just connecting and move. But imagine the arms really kind of pinned in. The whole body needs to get behind the movement. Yes, that's it. That's good. Good, and then again, the same exercise, just with a little bit of a different emphasis now. So again, first you're going to kind of work from a static position, and then working from a bit more of a 𝒂𝒂𝒃 thing, situation. You're going to open out the arm and then find the movement. So whatever the movement is, can be classic kind of Tangenko move, but you're going to offer the grip, and imagine as soon as you offer it, the person's coming in to grab it. This kind of semi-flowing style. So the static, offer, move into it. So you're looking for that same coordination. But now, as soon as you offer it, you're ready to go into the movement. Now, offer, move. The tricky thing now is because you're offering with the arm, the tendency is to go with the arm work. Really allow the arm to come out from the back of the body. Yeah. So again, it's like Aikido is great with the forms, but it doesn't teach us in terms of interaction how to get to the point of interaction. So this is like you need to bridge the gap. We do it when we do Shomanuchi work, but when we do static work, you're already in position. But how to get to that point where you're actually in the point of actually getting the attack and getting to that position and then moving into it. Aikido doesn't really deal with this. We should, but we don't. So what I want you to think about now is as you go into it, work from this kind of position. So the key thing is when you offer, you're not coming out of balance with the body. So because we do this as a kind of throwaway gesture, like take the arm and then I do the technique, we tend to be working from not from a balance structure. So think about now the hands right on the center, really balancing the body. And then think about how you get the arm out of the structure. So you don't want to do that, you want to do that. So that sense, if you think about when we do Morotodori, you let them grab and then you find the extension. That thing that we're training there is the same thing here, the sense of extension out. We're just taking that straight into movement now. So, but really have the sense that it's not a kind of throwaway gesture, so that you're offering it as a kind of bait for the person, and then you're using it. But this thing of that and then coming into it, this is really not what you're looking for. You look for something nice and balanced. I really think you're using the arm as a bait for the other person. And the key thing is that feeling of the arm coming out from the back of the structure. Think about sword work, how you come into Kamae. That's enough. Great, so now take it to walking and go. So there's one step between this. This is obviously best done with a partner. So when you get a chance, if you can play with this is a great exercise to do. So you're going to do this now totally in movement. So imagine the person in the room, they're kind of following you around. And then what you want to do, you initiate the movement again. So you initiate the grab and just feel that they're coming straight down onto the structure. So a lot of the time when we go to Kinanagai, we're working with the person already out of balance. Again, we're usually bad attacks in Aikido, so people come in and do this kind of thing. You're dealing with a structure that's already out of balance. It's very easy. You flow into the technique. But what you want to feel is as the person, as you offer the hand, the person's coming in to pin you with the grab. So they're looking for, in their objective is to grab you, pin you, fix you in place, and then follow up with something else. So imagine, this takes a bit of imagination now, but you're going to move around the space. Again, offer the hand and then just feel where the structure is. They would come in and pin it, and just feel again how the structure is kind of supporting in this case and back there. But just imagine that you would have a really strong pressure coming into the body. So you move, offer. And that feeling when you can feel like weight would come in, but I'm actually really balanced. This is the kind of position I'm looking to work in. Ideally, I'm already going to be in movement, but just to get a feel for nice, strong attack. You offer that. Just feel how the structure would kind of meet that force coming in, meet the pressure. A little bit tricky to work with. Okay. And then using that, go now into a full kind of movement with it. So again, move around the space. And then again, as soon as you offer it, you want to be in motion. Coming into it. So moving, offering, coming through into a movement, whatever that movement is. Play with the body, move. Nice. Okie dokie, great. Take a bokken. Great. So we'll work on similar exercises, the same kind of progression as well. So in the weapon's really useful for teaching feedback or for getting feedback from the body because we can have partners. This is the best way to use the weapon in my kind of sense, apart from training form. So we'll go straight into the first 𝒊𝒏𝒈, but really focus on the great thing about weapon work here, that ability to go from a relaxed position straight into movement. Straight into movement. So you've got 2 points in this case. Play with, in this case, coming back into the 𝒂𝒑. So you've got 3 points in this case. You've got the raise, the cut into it, and the drop back into the 𝒂𝒑. But just steady again, this sense of the different ways of coming into movement from a static position and various positions kind of engagement with the body. Really start from a nice calm position into movement, into movement. So the 𝒂𝒑. So all the same issues, weight shifting through the feet, keeping the hips free. Now I've got this added extra of this with weight in front of you. Nice. Nice. Very nice. Good. Great. So in a way, what we're always doing you're trying to align with two forces or two kind of ideas. The first one's the ground, and the other is gravity. So this first 𝒊𝒏𝒈 is great for this because these two things are really clear in it. So the raise is really working with the ground. So you want to, rather than pushing out of the ground, really get a sense that you're pressing into the ground. So the raise is done through the ground. And then here you're in a perfect position to work with gravity. You just let the sword drop through. So you're looking for gravity to amplify what's happening in the body. So again, I want to use the ground in a kind of intelligent way and use gravity in an intelligent way as well. So working with gravity, working with the ground, this is what we're kind of constantly looking for. And in terms of principle work, you either work against it or you work with it. And it's just the various degrees of how much I can get into alignment with those two interactions happening with the body. That's it. Right, good. Okay. Nice. Oh. Yeah, and then in terms of the cut, we're in a way we're doing something, not something else, but again working back into the ground. So think about now in terms of the cut, and play with this in terms of the feet as well. So the easiest way is from this kind of position, dropping into it. The key thing now is, again, you want the sword to be hitting the ground through the structure. Now, obviously, it's not hitting the ground; it's a feeling in the sword work, but that comes from a sense of the hips being in the ground through it. So really think about now as you make that cut. Don't do this with too much power, because too much power tends to lead to the bokken being uncontrolled. So think about sinking the weight down into it. Sinking the weight down into it. But you really want this sense that as you cut, boom, in all directions the feeling gets spread into the ground. But just play now with this sense of dropping the weight in. And we're doing this all the time. Think about Aikido, any kind of technique that we do, or all the techniques we do, we're using this same kind of principle. Grounding the movement. Good. So nice. Great, good. And then again, we'll work with this form, more of the Kin-no-Nagai form, or slightly more of a combat form, or combat application for the form. So the key difference now, the body moves forward, you don't reach the back, you just raise up, drop the foot in, back into the kunai. So again, it's really a study of in the Kihon, in this case still the Kihon, going from static straight into motion, and then finding the ground through. And you're working the same mechanics, working with the ground, working with gravity, the cut, raising through the ground, sinking in the cut. Nice. Yeah, great. So just concentrate a little bit on the front foot. So the front foot's really important for this exercise. So it's not only where the movement's kind of released from, but it's also where you're grounding the cut. So just play with the idea here, as if there's two ways you can look at this. You can look at it like you've got a rubber band between the sword and the foot, and it's like the extension pulls the sword up. The best way to think about this is actually like there's a stick between the foot and the hand, and as you release the foot, you're going to go into the cut. So the main thing is that the foot, the arm is being released through that movement. So just play with the sense of the raise now. It's much more dynamic. But you train this in the 𝒊𝒂𝒏𝒈. So if you think about the 𝒊𝒂𝒏𝒈 static, the foot raises the sword. It's the same here. The foot raises the sword to go into it. But just play with that idea of kind of stepping out. Obviously use the back as the anchor for the move, but the idea of releasing the front foot for the raise is really crucial. That's it. Again, you're looking for like 0 to 60 miles an hour, boom, straight in, boom, straight into the movement. Right, that's it. Great. Yeah, there we go, very nice. Nice. Good. Perfect. Okay, play now with the landing of the weight. So you've got the raise in. Think about now as you make the cut, the weight's all in that front leg through the hip. So the back leg is still in this case not fully grounded. So just play now. Again, you've got the raise, sinking the weight into the front leg. Again, a nice one to play with yesterday is like playing with one hand in it. So you've got less control and you've got more of a feeling I need to ground the movement. But the weight's being landed in that front leg primarily. This one. Yeah. Right. So. Yes. Good. Nice. Great. Now the kind of function of the if you think about the function of the back leg in this movement, not only is this to kind of stabilize the body at the end of it, but more than stability, it's for mobility to go into the next movement. So think of that foot now. Think of the back foot as you come in. As it comes in here, it's coming down so that you can come into another movement. So just play now with finding the cut, finding the point of the cut. That back foot really coming in. Here, pressing in that, and that's when the position should be. I should be free. The hip should be free to lead me to the next movement. So just play with the kind of shuffling in, shuffling out of the movement in balance. So that's the key thing. So you've got the weight that leg drags in, and then you'd be kind of free to press into the ground again. For the next move. The back leg drags in mainly for stability, mainly for mobility. Not so much stability. Yeah, right. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Good. Yeah. Okay, good. Just think about one thing again. So again, if we're going back to body work or we're going back to Taijutsu, this kind of problem comes up a lot in the Taijutsu. So the ability, how to land the weight in the body and then be mobile in the hips to be able to kind of move to the next position. So that same kind of feeling. The problem we have in this is that I find the ground here, but then I use the body in the way where I'm going to push out of the ground for the next movement, and then the hips ride up. So I've got a constant then sense of the hips riding up, sinking down, riding up, sinking down. And it just comes down to how I'm interacting with the ground in a really basic way. Think about as you go in, rather than pressing out of the ground, you sink down into the ground. So really allow the structure to fall into the ground. If I'm balanced, the structure will just find the ground. But think that you're really falling into the ground all the time. You are anyway, so it's just a question of how much I can just accept that I'm falling into the ground, but I've got a structure on top of it to take it. So just play with different kind of movements from it. But it comes down to that I'm either pushing out of the ground or I'm falling into it with structure. So, yes. Yeah, there we go. Nice. There we go. Great. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Great. So we'll just work with a quick set. Again, you could do any kind of set. This could be the 𝒂𝒂𝒃𝒃, it could be kind of something you invented. The key things involves kind of various movements with the hip and different ways to kind of use the sword. So we'll work with the movements that come from the Kimusubi no Tachi. We'll do it from a really simple way. So just working straight away into the cut. So don't go into the kind of full 𝒂𝒂𝒏 kind of movement. So you're just going to cut in here into the 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒕. You're going to find a ski with the body changing to the left side. And we're going to use this drop as well that's in the Kimusubi no Tachi. You're coming down into a blocking movement. So again, it's opening the hips out, sinking the sword down. And then from here, the last movement is stepping in, coming up with the sword. So you're finishing in a nice high position when you're coming through. So you've got the forward cut, the ski, the yokomen on the left side, cutting it down into a block, and then rolling up to the top. A nice shift at the end from a low position to a high position. Shifting in, changing the hip, dropping the hips, pressing them in. Set. Okay, great. Yeah, this position's kind of strange with it because in a way you need the partner for the movement. But if you think in this case the function of this, they're cut down. So you've got the left side cut, and then what your intention to do is block their path back to the body. So they would be in this position. They can't cut back here. But in the same sense, it's not just a block because I'm threatening the person with the tip of the sword. So I actually want them to go into a race so I can follow them up. But if not, if they stick to this position, you just come in towards the face or towards the throat with the body with the sword. But imagine, so you go into the left side and then I'm dropping it in. But this connection's strong to the top. So if they don't move, I'm just coming straight into it. If they try and come to here, I just absorb it and I'll come around and take the sword. But in the form, what you're doing is as they raise, you're tracking them up and then you're pinning them at the top. So it ends with a neutralization, but that kind of position is kind of strange, but you're protecting the body and you're also threatening the person. Yes. Wow. Yes. Perfect. Wow. Okay, great. So the main thing to think about now is also think about controlling the center line. So obviously when you do this with a partner, you're changing the angle, coming off the line, all this kind of thing. Don't worry too much about that. Actually, don't worry about it at all. Just go straight down the line. But in this case, really think about each movement. The first cut straight down the center line. The second ski down the center. The third down the center. This still controlling the center. And then the fourth controlling the center. So really think about now the interaction between the center line and the tip of the sword as you come through. You don't want in this kind of game to be working in and out of the center line. So use the fact that you don't have a partner. Also, it's a good thing you can just practice holding the center line. Holding the center line.
Thank you, Michael. Good.
Great, Nina. Thanks a lot. Good. Great. So we'll take it to 𝒂𝒂𝒏. So again, take it slow and just really experiment with how the weight's interacting with the ground. So as you do this one, then you've got different movements with it. So the front foot's going to receive the weight, the back foot drags in to mobilize. Front foot receives the weight, back foot drags in, changing the foot, sinking into it, mobilizing out of it. So just think of how you're mobilizing in mobilizing out of the ground as you do this. Keep it slow, keep the movement full. Really allow the body to rebound through the cuts or rebound through the movements. Rebound, rebound, rebound out of the ground. Rebound into the ground, not out of the ground, into the ground. And nice, very nice. Nice. Very nice. Good. Very good. Okay, good. Just play now with the first two movements. The key thing now is a change in the interaction between the sword. So in terms of the 𝒂𝒂𝒏 form, you've got the full completion of the cut, and allow the sword to settle through that cut. Allow the sword to settle each time. So just stick with this, the shaman and the ski. But what you're looking to do now is ride off the impulse from the ground. So you're looking to ride off that impulse. This way. So as soon as the sword is focused, it's going straight into the movement. So the problem for us now, if you go like kendo way, is easy because I'm not really focused on the body kind of weight behind it. You're just kind of snapping it. But now the problem is I need to enter the weight in, but release it at the same time. So this is tricky work. So just keep with that very first movement. And you can do it from a really basic way as well, coming from the back, dropping it, riding, trying to ride off that initial impulse. That. Yes, that's it. Right. So you'll notice two tendencies when you do this, especially if you do it fast. The first one is overuse of the body, where the body doesn't ground. So the body does that. So the body doesn't actually ground through the sword. The other one is where I throw the sword out. So the sword pulls me out of the structure. So again, it's always coming back to the ground and the structure. So really think about, as you do this, the sense of being able to ground the body. But you should feel like the hips and the sword and the hips hit the ground. And you use that to bounce out. But if I'm trapped in the hips don't grab, I drop through the ground, or the sword pulls me out of the structure. So just really consider it and add a little bit of power as well to kind of test it. Something like that. Yeah. Yes. Okay, last few. If you want, take it to the full set with it. So you're including now the yokomen, the pull down, and the control up. So again, just keep it in the sense of that you're going to ride off the impulse. Boom, 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 straight into it. Keeping the body as balanced as you can, but also keeping a sense of a full attack each time. So full, 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 full. Just one point before we finish. When you do this block, when you do the blocking move, so it's just watch this. This is a problem we've got in Aikido, because as you're opening the hip out of the tennis again, it's this leaking out to the back. So my energy actually pulls back. Now, if you think about this move in terms of kimusubi, I'm looking to get in and I'm looking to control the space. If at some point in the middle I pull back, then the person will take back the control of it if they know what they're doing. So look for, in this case, as you do this, you're sinking the hip, it's moving back, but my energy doesn't leak back. So think about coming down, but the energy stays forward. So again, think about the line of your intention down the sword. I can do that, or I can do that. And then come straight into it. So think of it as a setup to go forward, but keep your energy moving in. If you're moving in, you're looking to close the distance and then control. That's it, that's it, that's it. That's it, that's it. Very good. It's like coiling a spring, so you load it, let it out. Right. That's it, that's it, that's it, that's it. Good, there we go. Okay, great, perfect. So we'll come back to this as well for kind of interesting sets, interesting problems. So let's move out. Right. Domo arigato gozaimashita.
Domo arigato gozaimashita.
Right, great. Thank you very much.